Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to create a repository on GitHub and how to use GitHub Desktop to connect it to a new project in R Studio. I'm not going to show you how to connect an existing project to a new repository or an existing repository to a new project or an existing repository to an existing project, blah, blah, blah. New. We're creating both from scratch. So let's go to GitHub where we see the picture that's way too big of my face. And then, so you have to create your account. It's free. And there's something called a repository, which that's just a place where you keep all your code and project stuff, okay? I'm going to create a new one. And let's see, let's do one I'm going to do later. I'll use it later. It's like 20 videos from now. You can add a description if you want. Here is where I will post code for my causal inference videos. You can make it public or private. GitHub's all about sharing. So unless something has like sensitive information, my default setting is to share it publicly. Plus only like 2 people are going to look because I'm a little fish, man. You can add a README file if you want to, which lets you describe your project. That's very useful if you're doing a big project. Where I'm just doing code for little videos, it's not really worth it. You can also add a git ignore, which will create files that it doesn't keep track of. Save that for when you're more comfortable. We're just getting started. I'm just going to create this thing. All I did was give it a title and a brief description, and now I'm creating it. Cool. So there's a link to my repository. Anyone who follows that will go. Now I can get started and just start creating a new file if I want to, but I'm first going to set it up in desktop. Now, if you haven't downloaded GitHub Desktop, that's fine. This link will let you do that. I already have downloaded it, and so I'm just going to open it up. But you'll see like a little doohickey like this down here. Now let's go to GitHub Desktop. I opened it up. And you'll see that it automatically populates this GitHub repo. The repository is there. So now I just need to give it a place on my computer. And I have to give it an empty file. If the file has anything in it, it's not going to work properly. So I'm just going to choose my data science videos. I don't even have to type the folder name. It's going to clone it and give it the same name as what I gave it in GitHub. I just need to choose a place where that folder doesn't exist. So here's where I'm keeping code for all of my videos I'm making for you guys. I'm going to select that folder. You choose whatever one you want. Then I'm going to hit clone. I think we're good. Let's verify it, shall we? I'm going to now go over to R Studio. Maybe if I can find it in this long list. I need to really shut some windows, guys. All right, R Studio. Let's create a file. And we're going to save it in the folder that GitHub Desktop just created. So I'm going to create an R script. Did GitHub Desktop work? And I'm just going to save this as testing, but I got to go find the folder that GitHub Desktop created and save it there. So let's see, DS videos. All right, there's my causal inference stuff folder. And when I'm in my folder, I create the file that I want. We'll call this the GitHub test. Now, this gets saved as GitHub test. Did GitHub Desktop work? Now, let's open GitHub Desktop. All right, and look, it's connected. I saved this file in here, and it also knows what I typed there. Did GitHub Desktop work? So you need to put a note here for what you're doing before you make your commit. This is create GitHub test.r. You can put a description if you wanted to. Just started to see if connection to repo works. Whatever you want to put there. I'm going to commit it. And the first time you do this, you'll have to publish. Later on, it's going to give you just the option to push. You're going to have to watch more stuff about GitHub to figure out what all that means. I'm just showing you how to make the initial connection. All right, now let's verify and see if it connected to GitHub. Let's go back to my GitHub page. Here's my causal inference stuff repo. And look, there is GitHub test.r with my note about creating it. Let's see what the file looks like. Hey, look, there it is. Now, back to R for a second. Every time I change my file, I save it. And then I can go back to GitHub Desktop. And look, it kept track of that. It shows that I added the hello line, and I can commit that to the main. Right? I would just say added second line of code, commit, and it'll work. And so let's go check and see if that showed up in GitHub. It didn't. So what do we got to do? Let's go back because we forgot to do one important step, which is after I have to commit this, that I updated it, and then I have to push the file. When you push it, it sends it from GitHub Desktop to GitHub Online. So now let's go back to GitHub and we'll see what happens. Let's refresh this and see if it updates. Oh, look, the hello line is there now. So what did we do? We created a repository in GitHub. We used GitHub Desktop, which you'll probably have to download if you're watching this video. And I used that to create a folder that I can put my R files in, so that when I update any file in that folder, it shows up in GitHub Desktop. So GitHub Desktop's like this in between. And then in order to get everything back from desktop to github.com, you have to commit and then you have to push. So standard practice is you commit often and then push every now and then. Like, I don't know, it depends on what you're doing and how much work you're doing, but you commit frequently so you can go back and change if you mess up. And then you push basically when you reach milestones. Maybe you finished some section of your code, maybe it's a new work day. I don't know. That'll be up to you and whoever you're working with. There are other ways to do this. You can set it up so you can do your commits and your pushes directly from R Studio. You can enable version control and set up your Git thing in there. The setup process night is a little trickier than the one I gave you here, but not much. So figure it out if you want to, but this will do. I hope that helps you guys. If not, good luck, because this is about as plain English as I've ever seen a GitHub presentation. It gets much more complicated. You're not a Git expert from this video. You learned how to connect a repo. But if you watch other people's stuff, you can get a lot more detail. Have fun, guys. Peace out.